When the dust settles on Scarlet and Violet, the question is, where will it lie in terms of the main series Pokemon games? It's time to deep dive into the great and mad within the first release of Generation 9, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I recently did a quick touch upon the release of Scarlet and Violet. A key element going around the time on social media was the sheer massive split on the performance of the game, with the clear poor graphics and bugs, but the incredible joy and hysteria of finally having a Pokemon game that allowed you to do what you want, and take on what you want when you please. Before we start, I have two separate disclaimers. First things first, this is my opinion. If you feel or think something different, that is completely fine. I've taken a bit of time to consolidate what I think of these two games, as well as playing through both. I felt it was important not to give a full opinion till the time had settled a little. It's very easy to be reactionary, especially because of bugs, so on and so forth. Also, the second disclaimer is there's going to be a massive amount of spoilers, like a ridiculous amount. So be prepared for the entire game to be spoiled over the next so many odd minutes. I have no idea how long this video is going to be. Let's first focus on the story of Scarlet and Violet. The game is split into 4 separate stories. We have Victory Road, which is our gym challenge part of the story. This is our general plot throughout a Pokemon game, focusing on adventures through the gyms all the way to the Elite Four and Champion. The key difference this time is that it's classed as an assessment. Scarlet and Violet are based around you being in a school, so therefore having it as an assessment makes sense. Our second story is about the evil team story, known as Operation Starfall. This focuses on beating Team Star and defeating their evil ways. Make sure to get the quotation marks in there. Our third surrounds the Titans, known as the Path of Legends. It focuses on defeating Titan level Pokemon that are stronger than your normal type Pokemon. Our final story is The Way Home, which is accumulation of everything that's gone in the previous 3 storylines. The biggest difference between this story and previous Pokemon games, however, is the complete freedom to do what you want. You can tackle what you like when you like, with the key exception being The Way Home, which is only done after completing the previous 3 storylines. This in essence can provide an extra bit of difficulty compared to previous Pokemon games. In previous, you would go through a general linear route, with a few exceptions such as Kanto where you could explore a few different ones, and a few other instances, defeating each gym that would generally be near your level, while the main evil team appears throughout it in certain sections. Instead, you can go wherever you want when you want. You could face a Team Star boss that's vastly superior to your level. You could be exploring and end up in a stronger area with a gym leader vastly stronger than you, who in 2 moves could wipe out your entire team. The exploration the story gives you that essentially allows you to do whatever you want, with a few slight exceptions, is incredible. But let's look a bit closer into each one. As part of our standard gym challenge, we have 8 gyms that we need to defeat in order to take on the Elite Four and Champion in the assessment. This story is classified as the Victory Road storyline. This replaces the Victory Road area that we'd normally go to just before facing the Champion. I'm going to order them in terms of levels, but you can go whichever gym you want when you want. I'm definitely going to butcher one of these, by the way, so major sorry in advance. So in terms of levels, we have the Cortondo Gym, which specializes in bug types, the Artisan Gym, which specializes in grass types, the Levincia Gym, which specializes in electric types, the Cascarafa Gym, which specializes in water types, the Medallia Gym, which specializes in normal types, the Montanavera Gym, which specializes in ghost types, the Alfanada Gym, which specializes in psychic types, the Glaceado Gym, which specializes in ice types. If I butchered any of them, please let me know in the comments. When writing this, I tried so many times to write, okay, this is how you say it. I do not know whether or not I said it right. Now, each gym uses the new terrorizing mechanic added into the game. It allows a Pokemon to change their type, and as such, some of them would use Pokemon that are not originally their type, then terrorize them to be the gym's type. For example, in the Levincia Gym, which is electric based, Iono uses a Mismagius, that is then terrorized into an electric type, and because it's changed its type to electric type while also having the ability to levitate, this means it has no weakness. Like I said, while I listed them in order of levels, you are free to tackle them in whichever order you want, though of course some gyms are much stronger than others and will provide a lot more difficulty. For example, in my first playthrough on Scarlet, I did the Ice type gym as my 5th gym. In terms of levels, it was actually the most strongest gym within the game, but I picked the Fire type star as I always do every single new Pokemon game, and trust me, it was difficult this year. Since the last time a new main Pokemon series game had come out, I've gotten 2 cats, and so a cat type starter was tempting. Hence, when I played Scarlet, I had to pick it. But that's the beauty of freedom in Pokemon. I'd normally have to face the Ice type gym maybe 7th or 8th in a pecking order of original game, but when playing through, I felt like I could easily do them at the level I was at, so naturally I did. Now, a big potential improvement could be level scaling for sure. So say for example, I chose to face the Psychic type gym as the 4th in my journey, then it would have the levels of a 4th gym leader, so on and so forth. But that's just me personally being ridiculously nitpicky at a system that's already shown a lot of improvement compared to previous Pokemon games. You can set yourself a bit of a challenge depending on what you would like to do. You could say skip the 3rd and 4th gym and go to the 5th and 6th gym. Yes, of course, that would make the 4th and 3rd gym much easier down the line, but if you thought they were going to be easy anyways, it doesn't matter. Unlike previous, trainers can be blown by in this game as well. Previously, when you locked eyes with them, you had to engage in a deathmatch. But there's no needed battles like this anymore, so you can go straight from gym to gym. And naturally, the level progression on the gym leader side, but not much level progression on your side, can provide a bit of a challenge. Once you defeat the 8 gyms, you can then face the Elite 4 and then the champion in the assessment. The Elite 4 includes Rika, who uses ground types, Poppy, who uses steel types, Larry, who is also the gym leader of the normal type gym, which marks the first time a trainer has doubled up doing both duties, and is a fun little element. For his Elite 4 battle, he uses flying types. This allows him to reuse the Star Raptor, which was the star of his team when he was the normal type gym leader. The final gym leader is Hassel, who uses dragon types, because naturally, of course, you can't go a game without the Elite 4 or a champion featuring dragon types in their team. And finally, the champion's actually the chairman, who does not use a specific type. Once you've defeated them, you will face your rival for this storyline. Your rival was already champion ranked, uses a starter that was weaker to yours, and has constantly appeared throughout your gym challenge. The gym challenge revamp is naturally refreshing compared to previous. To be able to explore and then face the gyms that you want, as well as your rival basically being Goku but for Pokemon, is something that Pokemon's main element needed in order to have a big revamp compared to previous years. Going forward, this needs to be the standard sort of blueprint for Pokemon when it comes to gyms. Being able to explore and do what you want provides you with the ability to play a different story whenever you start. It opens many different routes for speedrunning. So many different potential options can be found to find the easiest or hardest route, challenge yourself on making it easier. It has truly changed what we think about Pokemon gyms. Now, Starfall Street is another storyline for you to complete. It involves taking on the villainous, evil, appalling Team Star. Oh, wait, they're just a bunch of rebellious students? No trying to take over the galaxy or make everyone release their Pokemon, steal Pokemon. Feels a bit anticlimactic compared to previous. No, in seriousness, in terms of the actual storyline, it makes sense. Team Star involves a bunch of students who are ostracized and bullied, so on and so forth, who come together to become a team. The team becomes very rebellious and tries to recruit as many within their ranks. The storyline is started by the mysterious Cassiopeia, who has hacked your phone to recruit you to take them down. You also run into Team Star harassing a young girl named Penny and stop them, deciding to take part in their defeat. As mentioned previously, in games you usually take them down as the storyline progresses. Instead, once again, you can take down the evil team as you please. You have to defeat 5 separate bosses, each stronger than the other. In level order it goes the Dark type boss Giacomo, the Fire type boss Mela, the Poison type boss Atticus, the Fairy type boss Ortega, and finally the Fighting type boss Eri. Each one features a special rev room, specialised towards their type, with a move that's specific just for them only. You are not able to use it, unfortunately, if you got one. Defeating each boss allows you to obtain new TMs, with Cassiopeia getting their helper, Penny, the kid you helped earlier, to deliver materials to you to help you craft some TMs. As the storyline starts to progress, Team Star are portrayed in a different light. More information is revealed after the defeat of each boss. It details that Team Star were actually all bullied themselves. They stood up to the bullies who bullied them, who proceeded to drop out, and as such, they were portrayed as the bad guys. After defeating all 5, you found out Clive, who has been helping you during each of the raids, is actually Shock Horror Director Clavel, who actually runs the academy. Though, I mean, obviously. The disguise is honestly quite terrible. And the dialogue actually has you ask whether it's them in the story, so it's not exactly a secret. He claims to be Cassiopeia. You defeat him, and surprisingly for me, a little bit of difficulty. I was round about his level, but I chose the Fire type starter, and he has the one you're weak against. And I got absolutely wrecked by Aqua Step. From there it's revealed he isn't the leader. You reach the schoolyard and discover that the leader of Team Star is actually Penny. Penny created the idea of Operation Starfall after the player helped stop the Team Star member when they were confronting her. She felt this was the only way to stop them getting expelled. After defeating Penny, all ends well for the bad guy team. The leaders meet their creator for the first time. The director doesn't expel them, though does give them some form of punishment, and the teams start to integrate into school life once again. Okay, so I want to say something important about this storyline. It revolves around the number that appears on the box of the game. In the UK, this game is rated 7. Pokemon's target audience, no matter how many people who play it that are older, is traditionally kids. This storyline does very quickly become incredibly easy to guess. Well, at least in my opinion anyways. After 1 or 2 calls with Cassiopeia, you can guess that they know more about Team Star than they let on, especially considering that their creator actually disappeared. Penny straight away appeared after Cassiopeia said they would send their helper to give you some materials. Penny asked obvious giveaway questions, and Clive was blatantly directed from the very beginning, as it was one of the worst disguises I've ever seen, and even the dialogue drives home that it was obviously him. But despite its predictability, this storyline deserves a lot of credit, and in my opinion the predictability definitely fits in with Pokemon's target range of audience. I've mentioned this before when I was talking about Team Yell in my Generation 8 video, which make sure to go watch that if you haven't already, guys. I talk about what's good and bad in Generation 8. Cough plug. But bad guys that aren't actually bad guys and are more misunderstood good guys or anti-heroes are a lot more fun to tell a storyline with than we want to destroy the world and make it again. We are the best and want to take over everything. Naturally in Pokemon you think, okay, let's stop the bad guys. But in this game, the bad guys didn't necessarily start off doing anything wrong. They just defended themselves from being bullied. Yes, it does get a little out of hand, but originally it started as a movement to help those suffering. It was not meant to get the way it did. And that's the beauty of Operation Starfall within this game. You don't necessarily feel like they're the bad guys, just the good guys gone astray. It adds a lot of layers to the game, and it has you sympathise with the bad guys. As evil teams go in Pokemon, it's up there. Now the third storyline is something that's never really happened in a Pokemon game before. The Path of Legends revolves around stopping strong level Pokemon that guard a herb. This herb is called the Herba Mystica. We follow Arven, who is hunting it down for his own reasons. Each of the 5 Titan Pokemon defeated unlocks an ability for your legendary Pokemon that you carry around to use in the overworld. Kinda like HMs of previous. There are 5 to defeat. Cloth, the Stonecliff Titan, unlocks the ability to use the dash. Bombardier, the Open Sky Titan, allows you to swim. The Earthworm, the Lurking Steel Titan, allows you to jump higher. Great Tufts, the Quaking Earth Titan, in Scarlet, or Iron Threads, the Quaking Earth Titan, in Violet, allow you to glide midair, and Tatsugiri Dondonzo, the Fake Dragon Titan, allows you to climb. As the storyline progresses, you discover that Arven is hunting them down in order to help heal his Mabustiff. After defeating all 5, his Pokemon is healed, but you receive a call from the Professor of this generation, and the Professor is different depending on your game. They ask you to get into the lighthouse where you first met Arven, who also happens to be their son and the only one who can access it. Once you get there, you have to defeat Arven to prove that you're ready to go to Area 0. As you've been requested to go help there. A team has been suggested for you, which happens to be Nemona, your rival from the Victory Road storyline, and Penny, technically your rival from the Operation Starfall storyline, along with Arven in order to head out and deal with Area 0. This storyline is more like a way to tie the other 2 storylines together. The end is an indication of bringing all 3 within themselves in order to complete the 4th storyline, while also giving you the ability to obtain HMs that allow you to travel fast and quicker across the map. It has a good deal of emotion attached to it, as Arven's main aim is to help heal a Pokemon that's suffering, and naturally everybody would want to do that. It is a good prelude to our final storyline, The Way Home. Once you've completed these 3 storylines, you are then able to do the final storyline. Again, you can complete them in whatever order you want, you must complete the 3 beforehand though. The Way Home involves you reaching Area 0, then needing to defeat familiar looking Pokemon that aren't the same as what you would normally expect, in order to open gates and progress. The familiar looking Pokemon are dependent on your game. Scarlet are classed as ancient Paradox Pokemon, including a new design for one like Jigglypuff, and Violets are classed as future Paradox Pokemon. These ones are naturally a bit more futuristic, including like an Iron Delibird, so on and so forth. Once you've reached the end point, another version of the legendary that you have appears, but the one with you does not want to confront it. As you go in, you find the professor of the game is slumped in a chair. The professor is actually dead, and you've been talking to an AI this whole time, as the professor died protecting the legendary that you have. They indicate you must stop the time machine, but the AI is programmed to protect it, so you must battle all the Paradox Pokemon available in the game. Again, ancient ones for Scarlet, future ones for Violet. When defeated, the AI locks all Pokeballs, except for the ones registered to the professor. Well, interestingly enough, if you go back to the start of the game, after you found it, you got given a Pokeball for it, while in conversation with the professor. Well, it happened to be the professor's, and so your legendary can battle the other. Your legendary transforms. When the opposing one is defeated, you get a job well done and the credits roll on in. And that is the storyline conclusion of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. It definitely has a lot of heavy stuff, especially at the end. Dealing with actual death doesn't really happen much in Pokemon. No less the professor of the region as well. It does a good job in tying up the 3 storylines of the game by having your 3 helpers be the 3 main rivals / friends from the other storylines. It's very ambitious in its targets as a storyline in my opinion, and for me it's definitely one of the most fun Pokemon I've ever done. It takes different routes to previous storylines but feels good at that. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet feature a total of 109 new Pokemon in the series. which has now officially pushed Pokemon to having over 4 figures in the franchise. For your main starters, the final evolutions are Water Fighting, Grass Dark, Fire Ghost. The pseudo legendary, as there is one in every single game, is Ice Dragon. We feature new evolutions for previous Pokemon including Primeape and Dunsparce, region variants including Tauros, who now has 3 separate forms, a good Whoopie Boy, who has a different evolution now as well. There's also a new type of Pokemon, which is the Convergent type Pokemon. These are Pokemon that are biologically unrelated, but have adapted to their environment and then resemble a previous Pokemon. For example, Wiglett is a water type Pokemon that resembles Diglett, and Toedscruel, which is a grass ground type, resembles Tentacruel, which is a water poison. The reimagining, changing and evolving of previous Pokemon continues to add new life to Pokemon as a whole, especially ones that have lost their way, such as Primeape, which now has a monster evolution in Annihilape with an additional new type. Of the new Pokemon added, my only gripe is that Dunsparce evolution isn't a dragon. Make my guy a dragon now, come on. Something important to mention as well is that once again there is no national dex. I feel like at this point in the whole franchise, this topic has been talked about a lot, and I still have the same opinion. For me personally, as long as it doesn't take away from the story and the experience, I'm not personally fussed whether there's 1,000 Pokemon or 500 Pokemon. I understand program limitations due to time, but it's important to mention that it's still not there, because for some that will be incredibly frustrating. But Dunsparce got an evolution, so I don't care. This generation includes a lot of fun and new key features that are a massive benefit to Pokemon going forward. We now have a multiplayer mode thanks to Union Circle, allowing you to adventure with your friends. There's also a Pokemon that requires an evolution by having friends, so mine's going to stay in its pre-evolved form. The Let's Go feature allows you to have Pokemon find items while randomly exploring and automatically battling Pokemon. This definitely saves a lot of time for training in a big area. It makes it quicker and faster through no loading times. But one thing I'm a little bit uncertain on is whether it gives you lower experience. For me it seems to, but I'm curious as to whether that's actually the case. If anyone's got the numbers for that, let me know in the comments below. There's also Pokemon that can only evolve via the Let's Go feature. I mentioned it previously, but trainer battles are now optional. You no longer lock eyes with the opponent and now have to battle them as soon as you see them. This is extremely beneficial when running from one area to another, especially if you need to heal or you're trying to avoid trainers. You can craft TMs of previous TMs you've obtained using Pokemon materials you get from defeating wild ones. There's also a fun extra little bit such as eating sandwiches that boost your chance of seeing certain types of Pokemon. You can take selfies with Pokemon now and can automatically heal instead of selecting the potions just to do it. There's a lot of quality of life changes that really boost the gameplay and its fun elements. There's a particular focus on things that boost the playability of the series. It's honestly a fantastic experience having them. Unfortunately, when talking about this game, we cannot miss its glitches and the graphical abilities of it. I've touched upon the problems facing this game previously in my initial view of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Make sure to check that video out as well. But the glitches and graphics are a serious issue for this game, especially in amongst the praises that I've given so far. I know for some naturally they won't be too fussed about it, due to the enjoyment the game has been from all the additional elements that have been added, the freedom to do whatever you want whenever you like, so on and so forth. But the simple fact of the matter is, for the biggest media franchise of all times in terms of revenue, the problems this game faces with graphical and glitches are simply not acceptable to be existing. For those who haven't heard or don't know, just a touch on the glitches that these games have include falling through maps, stepping on Pokeballs when they're being caught, regular freezing and slowdown, issues with camera angles in Pokemon battles in the overworld, many of which I've actually experienced myself. And that's just the tip of the iceberg to the issues and glitches that you can experience while playing. For many, and rightfully so, the broken glitches can take you out of what you're experiencing. Scarlet and Violet are pretty much breaking through the sound barrier with some of the changes that have been made. But when you're regularly dealing with issues due to graphics that aren't up to scratch, especially for the console that it's on, which, yes, we know it's weaker than its counterparts to PS5 and Xbox that are also sold quite well, but it's still capable of more than what it's shown. And also dealing with glitches that can literally break your game can cause you to reach a serious crossroads of what you want from a game. The gameplay in terms of what you can do versus an issue-free game. We could easily at this stage discuss Pokemon's issue with time to create a game. It's definitely a problem, though at this stage some would argue it's not an excuse for what's currently happening, and it could easily be a topic in itself, and it's not actually limited to this generation itself, so I won't go too in depth about it. And regardless, the issues in graphics and glitches is a serious issue that needs to be sorted for this game going forward. But what is the future of Scarlet and Violet? In terms of post-game content, we feature gym rematches and the Academy Ace tournament, catching legendaries and now the Paradox Pokemon as well, completing the Pokédex that's available, 5 and 6 star raids, but Pokemon has always featured a third game, or nowadays a DLC package, that allows you to experience more content than previous. Well, the images of what looks like the legendary dogs all combined, or at a minimum just Suicune as a Paradox Pokemon, and also Virizion as a Paradox Pokemon, definitely lean towards maybe a Legends game or a future DLC for it. What's the final conclusion for Scarlet and Violet? Well, for myself as a Pokemon player for years and years, in terms of enjoyability, it's probably the most fun I've had since maybe Pokemon Emerald. I found myself absolutely hooked on the ability to explore everywhere I wanted within the game with no restrictions whatsoever. The Gym, Evil Team and Titan Pokemon were a breath of fresh air to me, in terms of being able to go wherever I want and where I please. I found a lot of additions to this game, such as TMs being craftable, automatic battling, and trainer battles being optional, as a fantastic addition to these games and the future of them, due to them saving time or allowing me not to make a judgment on what moves I want a Pokemon to have from the beginning. But the issues and graphics cannot be overlooked for Scarlet and Violet. The amount of problems that people are facing and continue to face for the series, which has such a wide reach and such a profitability, should not be happening in 2022. For some, the glitches and graphics ruin the experience, and for some they won't care because they got something they always wanted out of a Pokemon game. The best way to describe Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is that it's brilliant, but it is also broken. Thanks for watching, guys. It's been fun to finally put down all my thoughts on a new Pokemon game. I took so much time to consolidate and think about what I wanted to say. I didn't want to be too reactionary when discussing the game properly and to give as much of an opinion as I could. Make sure to like and subscribe. More often than not, people aren't subscribed, and it definitely helps me out in knowing people are enjoying the content. I have both Twitch and Twitter, which will be on the screen right now, so make sure to follow me on there. Comment down below what you think of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Have you hated it? Do you enjoy it? It would definitely be great to hear. See you next time, guys.